Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Devotions today. It's a little bit windy today, so I hope the sound is not too badly affected, but it's really great just to be with you. We're talking about 2 Timothy. It's a great book of legacy. It's a story of the end of Apostle Paul's earthly life, and he's doing the whole deathbed talk stuff. Take note of some of the things he's talking about. He talks about the 3 things that God is able to give. He gives us the wonder of His grace, His mercy, and His love toward us, and we celebrate that. But we're talking about how do we epitomize that in our own lives. And we read later on in chapter 1, verse 7, all about the power of God. It should be evidenced in our lives. But before it's evidenced in our lives, we got to use our imagination, or maybe even not our imagination. We just got to read the Bible and see the power of God at work. And when we see God's awesome power, something happens within us to say, man, I can tap into that. I have access to the power of God, the power of God that spoke creation into being. Didn't have to do anything. Creation comes because He did something with nothing. Just the word of His mouth was good enough. We get a picture of the wonder of God's power in the opening of the Red Sea and the Jordan River and the raising of the dead. And even in His own death, His demonstration of power, even against this thing of death and of the grave, that God had the power to deal with our worst enemy. But I sometimes feel a little bit like Elisha at the city of Dothan, where he's got his servant, and his servant is in fear. He's petrified because he's looked outside the walls of the city and he's seen there's a great enemy outside the wall. And Elisha hits his problem and says, guys, you don't understand the power of God. You don't understand how powerful this God of ours is. He's not a little hamster God. He's a roaring lion God. He's not a little lion that we kind of go to the circus to watch that is tamely told what to do. He's a roaring lion. And we've been doing that in church recently. It's been an awesome theme. But here's the deal. We got to get a renewed picture of the power of God as per the story of Elisha and Gehazi in the city of Dothan. You could read their story. It's a phenomenal story. You can read the story in the book of 2 Kings. And it's a great picture of us being able to see the evidence of God's power. Here they are sitting in a city. Gehazi looks outside and says, we're dead. The enemy has got us. And I almost get a picture of Elisha with a smile on his face. Oh, Gehazi, 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 open your eyes. And he says, my eyes are open. I see an army outside here. And he prays, Elisha prays, says, God, open his spiritual eyes. And all of a sudden, Gehazi's eyes are open. And he's like wide, like saucers, as he looks into the heavens around him. And he sees evidence and proof of the power of God. He says, oh, Elisha, man, Elisha, now I know why you don't worry so much. Now I know why you trust a whole lot more than we worry. Now I know why, because you have seen the unseen. And when we people see the unseen, and we have our spiritual eyes opened to see the armies of heaven, as Gehazi saw, to see the chariots of fire, to see the supernatural evidence of a God who really exists in a realm that we cannot understand and we cannot see with a human eye. Just because we can't see it with a human eye does not mean for a moment that it does not exist. God is powerful in every realm of life. He has power over life. He has power over death. He has power over sickness. He has power over evil. And you have got to have your spiritual eyes opened in order to see that. The disciples on the boat that night, as they were battling against the storm, they had their spiritual eyes opened when they saw the evidence of Jesus' power against the storm. And Jesus calmed the storm. He reprimanded the storm and he said, be still, man. And the storm was still. And the disciples were all saying, what? Who is this? What kind of man is this? And we know what kind of man he was. He was a man to whom nothing is impossible. With Jesus, all things are possible. So before we start talking about power, people, won't you get a picture of the power that we are talking about? Revel in it, enjoy it, study it, expose yourself to it, but above all, begin to use it in your daily life. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I hope you can join me. See you then. We have an awesome God. You do know that, eh? See you tomorrow. Bye.